Well, I'm not quite sure the right way to start this video off. I guess you could say, have you ever heard of Bob Feller? But what I really want to talk about here is more bullpen management problems. And this is a problem that I've been seeing here playing this replay and looking at how the computer manager handles things. And it's a problem that is interesting to compare to real life. So if you watched this morning's game, and I know that most of you who are watching this probably didn't, you'll notice that the Indians brought in Bob Feller in relief in a game that they were losing 7-0. Feller came in the bottom of the seventh inning, pitched 1 2/3 innings, and then Sam Zoldak, who probably should have been the reliever, came in to get the final out in the bottom of the eighth as the Yankees were threatening once again. The question, of course, is obvious, which is, why are you wasting Bob Feller like this, right? So it's going to be harder for Feller to start next. He only pitched, 30 pitch? That's a pretty significant number, especially in Diamond Mind where pitch counts are the thing. Why not put in a guy who's more of a relief pitcher instead of putting in your ace starter? So I don't really understand why this is going on. Let's look at a couple of things here. So we're going to switch over here to screen view. I go to the other side of the screen. And here you have it. This is Baseball Reference, and we'll make this a little bit bigger so we can all see it and we can talk about it. I wish I could get rid of this, but whatever. Even my ad blocker won't stop that. It's really interesting as I was looking through this a couple seconds ago, right? Because you do see Feller come in some games in relief. He had 10 relief appearances in 1949. But these games, when Feller comes in, are close. These are not games that are not close at all, right? So let's go take a look at this here, right? So Feller ends up coming in when the score is 4-2 in favor of the White Sox. And he does a good job of holding Chicago. They don't score any more runs. He gets out of this top of the eighth inning, and they get a single off of him at the top of the ninth, and that's it. But Cleveland can't come back to score, right? That seems like a pretty good chance for him to come in relief, and I'm guessing that their bullpen was probably a little bit taxed. We look at his next outing. We're looking at July 17th here, second game of a doubleheader, which definitely tells you that the bullpen was taxed. And when we look over here at this one, and for the sake of full disclosure, I actually have not looked at these before I started this video. It was Al Benton who gave up a home run that put the Red Sox ahead by 1, and then a single to Bobby Doerr. And so the manager got sick of that, put Bob Feller in there. He got a double play off of Al Zarilla, and then got Tommy O'Brien to ground out, and that was it, right? He probably didn't throw that many pitches. It doesn't tell you the pitch count here because that wasn't really kept for all teams at that time. Some of the Dodgers games you'll find it. But again, you see a very, very close game where it's definitely in the Indians' best interest to not give up any more runs. Not a game in which you're losing already by 7 and you don't have a chance. All right, here's another one where Feller comes in the first inning. And so we'll see if we can figure out what happens in this game, right? They actually win it. And let's see. So there was a single and a stolen base. Then Dom DiMaggio went to third. Then Williams singled DiMaggio home. There was a double sending Williams to third. Oh, look at that. It's DiMaggio, Pesky, Williams, and Stevens. I get Pesky down to the bottom of the lineup because he does a lot of this grounding out. Feller comes in then to replace Gene Bearden and then pitches the rest of the game. Gives up another run. That makes it 4-3 for the Indians, right? Interesting. So the manager apparently just felt that Bearden just didn't have it, and Feller ended up pitching the rest of this game. He ends up winning it as the Indians go on to win 9-3, right? But you notice that he came in relief, but this was a game that Cleveland was still winning, where there was a reason for you to put Bob Feller in this. How about this August 11th against the White Sox? We go through and look at this one. Feller comes in again at the very, very end of the game, probably after the lead has been given up. No, he comes in here in the top of the 11th, and then in the top of the 12th, and the Indians end up winning this one at the bottom of the 12th. So I'm assuming, again, that he probably came in because the bullpen was mostly taxed, and it was an important game for Cleveland to try to win. Here's a little bit of an oddity where he comes into the 7th inning of this game on August 11th, again, first day of a doubleheader. And here we go, bottom of the 7th. So it was a 5-5 ball game. Feller comes in with a runner on first and third, and he promptly throws a wild pitch and gives up the go-ahead run. And that is it, because by the next inning, Feller is out of there. And the reason why is because he was pinch hit for, right? It was a close game, and they decided that it was better to have the pinch hitter and instead of keeping their best pitcher in the ball game. So, I mean, stuff like that does happen from time to time. But as you notice here, the vast majority of these games are really, really close games in which, like, putting Bob Feller in actually did make a difference, right? We can even go over here to this October 2nd game, which, if not the last game of the season, must have been close to it, right? So Feller comes in, what was it, to the 8th inning of this game or something like that? And you got to wonder if he wasn't making an appearance just to be able to make an appearance. I guess it was a road game, though, so it wasn't exactly in front of the home crowd. I'm sorry, he comes into the 6th game here, right? And so Feller comes into this one after the Tigers have started to come back. Tigers were behind 4-0, and there was a walk, 1, 2, 3, 4 straight singles given up by Bob Lemon. Feller comes in, and he gives up the sacrifice fly that makes it a 4-4 ball game, gets them out of the inning, keeps them out of the inning. And then he pitches to the end of the game as the Indians get enough runs. They get 4 in the top of the 8th to win that one 8-4, right? So that's the thing here, though, about Bob Feller, right? What we can see here pretty clearly is that the pattern for using Bob Feller in relief is it's a close game, or it's probably theoretically at least an important game. There are other ways we can go look that up, how many games behind you are and all this other stuff, right? That's what the pattern was, right? That's what it was about in real life. It's not about, oh, yeah, we need a reliever and we're down 7-0. Let's go put, the best pitcher that we have on the team in there. That's not the way that it worked. So, I mean, we'll take a look here and see what this is set up as. Again, I haven't looked at this before filming this. Here you have the Indians roster. You have their default starters. We can look down the rest of these and see if, see, this is part of the problem. Feller is listed as a mop-up pitcher, which, as you can see, as we just saw, is not true to how he was actually used in real life. These are the default settings that come with the 1949 Diamond Mine season. He's not listed as going in long relief, and so I guess it depends upon what your definition is for these different roles, I mean, I don't know. If I click on help, will it even take me to the right page? You know how it is with these Windows systems. I mean, you're going to tell me anything about what the mop-up role actually means? Probably not. Oh, here we go. Here, see the pitching chart. Mop-up situations. You can designate up to 7 pitchers for the mop-up role. This role is used for the weaker pitchers on the team. They will normally be used only when your team is winning or losing by a large margin and the outcome of the game isn't really in doubt, that they may appear in close games if other pitchers are not available due to injury or fatigue. Well, there wasn't a situation of injury or fatigue here. There were other pitchers available. It was a mop-up situation. But putting Bob Feller in that situation doesn't make any sense at all. That does not square with how he was actually used in real life. Let's go take a look here really quick. Sorry, it's Hank Edwards. Let's see if Bob Feller is anything. And, using relievers and using closers is set to never for him when he's on the mound. Right, so it's preventing Diamond Mine's manager from using a closer, which also probably doesn't really track with how he actually was in real life. Anyway, though, I think the real lesson that we learned from this and looking at this is that Diamond Mine Baseball has some flaws when it comes to recreating older seasons, and we're not talking about like 1908. We're talking like 1949, which really isn't that much older. We've talked a lot about what is a modern season, what's not a modern season. You're not going to find a lot of sabermetricians saying, oh, yeah, 1949 in baseball terms is like the Stone Age. I mean, it's not that different from the modern game, but pitcher usage is quite a bit different. And the problem is that Diamond Mine's manager, when left to its own devices, cannot emulate the style of managing that happened in 1949, right? For whatever reason, the game was programmed so that you don't have the option to say, hey, Feller is your ace. If you're in a really close situation in late innings, you need to use him, because that, as we just saw, was the way and the only way that he was used in relief in real life, right? And he can pitch for you like a starter in relief, provided that he has enough rest, right? That would be really nice if we could program it like that, but you can't. The game's not designed like that. Instead, it's designed with these sliders, and it's designed with this computer manager that who knows what kind of logic he uses. That's why Bob Feller's in there. You would think, oh, this isn't much of a problem. It is a problem because I got to figure out who's going to start for the Indians next, since Feller's not going to be able to. He just pitched 30 pitches, right? We're not going to have him start the next day. So, I mean, I don't know. It's a headache. It's an absolute headache, and I wish that there were an easy solution to this problem. I know I'm harping on the bullpen problem a lot, but it's a major issue. It would be easier to handle if I were managing both teams, but unfortunately, in this particular game, if you manage both teams, you do really, really weird things with like the running game, right? Because if you tell a guy to steal a base and then you throw to first base to catch him, you have a really high chance of catching him off guard. This is one of the reasons why, for replayers, it might be better to stick with card and dice games that do some of these things for you automatically so that you can play the game, you can get into the game and have the result and not have to worry about stuff like this. This gives me a headache. It gives me an absolute headache. Anyway, there you have it. I'll talk with you again tomorrow. Bye.